It's the Let's Call for Plastisol, competition barely. Come discuss the field with your host Christy and Jeremy. Have a drink, kick your feet up, watch the ink, and get ready for a motion. Notice hearing what you think. Shout out, Monarch color, Blue Ridge, they're the best. Core Kim hold it down like the automatic press. BMI, they've been sticking with our team. Hey, you know that they are go-to for whenever that we need. Last call, Plastisol, last call. The last call, Plastisol, last call. Last call, Plastisol, last call. The last call, Plastisol.
I like it. So, Zach, tell us how you came up with your name. How did the can of corn come about?
Oh, great question. So my last name's Achorn. Okay.
Yep.
And then, growing up, you're always getting nicknames as a kid and stuff.
Yeah.
But especially when I was in high school specifically, I went to an all-boys school. So everybody usually called everybody by their last name.
Okay.
That was like initially your first nickname was your last name. And then mine just got shortened. So it was like Corn. People would call me Cornelius, like so many different things, like just anything with corn.
Right.
You know? Yeah. And then as I got older, I've always had a huge passion for art. I grew up obsessed with Andy Warhol at a very young age.
Cool.
So, by the time I was at college, I kind of, had fallen in love with like Shepard Fairey and like a bunch of other like clothing brands and stuff. So I kind of was like, all right, I really want to have a clothing brand at one point. And then I was always doing a lot of art. And then when I went to architecture school, I kind of realized right away, I was like, this is not for me.
Okay.
So I started working on the clothing brand. And when I dropped out of architecture school, I really got even heavier into the art. And that's when I started doing street art and graffiti and stuff like that. And when it comes to the graffiti world, most everybody uses like a alias name or a nickname. And I was just kind of like, I'm just going to go with Corn. Even if it's kind of obvious of who it is, I'm going to go with Corn. And then as I started developing my clothing brand and my business, I started to be like, all right, well, I don't necessarily like going and tagging and stuff. It's like I found that like the businesses were the ones that had to pay for that and stuff like that. So I had a fascination with Banksy as an artist, a street artist, and he was doing a lot of stencils that looked cooler and stuff like that. And then being a perfectionist, it was like, all right, well, the stencils are cool because like I don't have to like sit there and make sure it's perfect like before the cops come or something like that. So I started going with that, and then I'm also one of my big heroes from.
So he was doing illegal art.
I was definitely doing illegal art at one point.
You're way more complex than I thought.
Yeah.
Right. So
he just named it a fancy word, but it's illegal.
I made it nicer, but I'm also one of my big like idols from back home is Johnny Cupcakes.
Okay.
So,
I love him too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's his logo and stuff was always super influential on me. Like I grew up not far where he started his first store and stuff like that. So I kind of just came up with the concept where, all right, I'm spray painting, so a spray paint can, and then the corn, and just kind of one day I just like drew a half one where it was like full color can and like corn, and then eventually just simplified it and made it this and kind of ran with it.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So how did you get involved with rock?
I got involved with rock by a couple of the people on the team, Buck Primo, Mike Dolph, Richard Tilley at the time, and then being around Ryan, I got exposed to them. But the biggest thing was I got introduced to rock by the Made Lab. So the Made Lab was like the first time I really got like comfortable with rocks and stuff. So what ended up happening was I'd only run a rock once before I ever went to the Made Lab. So I was running a thing back home in Massachusetts after COVID where shops were really hurting for employees and stuff. So basically what we would do, my team is we would contract ourselves out to shops on day rates and stuff.
What an interesting concept.
Yeah, so, and we're working on a similar project that we've been doing that. It's called Print Plugs, where we're trying to like create a directory of printers for that. But we started back right after COVID, and essentially we would just go into a bunch of different shops. So like it didn't really matter. Most of them were M&R shops where I'm from. So we were on M&Rs all the time. And then, which was funny because at the time M&R actually started sending me like a bunch of stuff because they thought I had an M&R. And then I did an interview with them and I turned the cameras on and all my stuff was Riley Hopkins. And they were like, what the heck? But anyway, so.
See, I've heard a rumor that you printed with
What?
At the M&Rs.
Oh,
So,
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I own an M&R.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
That's what I
own
was
an
like.
M&R. Yeah. Hey man,
Okay.
I'm a screen printer at the end of the
I
day. But
hear you.
But yeah, so some guy had hit us up. He got our number through another print shop, and he was like, "Hey man, I need you to come run my press." I was like, "Okay." And then he was like, "It's a rock. Have you ever seen one?" And like immediately I said, "Yeah," but in my head I'm like, "Oh God, I've never seen one in my life."
Oh, yeah.
So that night I literally just watched all the videos I could possibly do, kind of going back to my roots of how I started in screen printing. Like I just went on Google and typed how to screen print, and then of course Ryan showed up.
Yeah.
And so I spent the whole night just watching rock videos, showed up, ran a rock, and I was like, holy crap, this is crazy easy, you know? And but then eventually I got an opportunity to go out to another shop in Montana to check it out, and they're all rock. So I was like, I can't go and embarrass myself. So that was when I kind of invested to go to my first class at the Made Lab. And
Okay.
that was
Okay.
really cool. That's
Made
kinda,
to rock.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that kind of like just put me in like a snowball effect where it just kept
Gotcha.
going and going and going.
Yeah. And so now what do you do with rock?
So I'm a contractor for rock.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
basically when they like need installs or trainings or something like that, they'll contract me in and
Okay.
send me in there. So it's cool.
How do you balance that with owning your own shop?
It's definitely difficult. You know, my companies, before I started traveling and doing all the screen printing on the road, I had like a few companies back home. So I owned an art education company. I also created a company called the Gym for Artists, and then I had a clothing store where I ran all my screen printing production out of. You know, and one thing that it made me realize by traveling was a lot of it was, you know, built off of me.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I started traveling and stuff, it was definitely hard to balance even with my team. Because I wasn't there, you know,
Yeah.
and I started to realize, you know,
Yeah.
it doesn't have that same effect if you're not there.
Yeah.
And so over the past 2 years, it's been a lot of adjusting, like
Yeah.
a ton. Like we had to close the bigger Gym for Artists because that was like a 15,000 square foot building I was running
Wow.
with art
Oh, wow.
studios and all that stuff. And so we closed that, and then I ended up recently, like end of last year, closing the clothing store because our sales were doing better online than they were in person because I was no longer in person. So,
Yep.
and just kind of figuring out like what I wanted to do. Like my goal, like being obsessed with Andy Warhol, was always I wanted to be, you know, one of the best artists I could ever be and stuff like that. And I knew like by studying him, you really had to, you know, take over one like facet of art, and then once you like can make a name for yourself in one facet, you can pretty much do any type of art.
Yeah.
You know, so for me it was like, all right, I'm gonna pick screen printing. You know, as much as I wanted it to be spray painting and murals and stuff like that, screen printing was always more there, and like, you know, I was more successful in that. So I eventually just doubled down, and like once I started, it was crazy because the 8 years when I was building everything, I never left. Like I had my storefront was here, my warehouse was right behind there, and I lived in an apartment above the storefront, so I never left.
Yeah.
And then the year that I first went to the Made Lab class, I told myself I wanted to travel at least once a month, and then next thing I know, I'm traveling.
Yeah.
Traveling all the time.
All the time.
We've
so.
talked about this on the podcast before, but like that's one thing about when I got picked up for the Gildan Board of Decorators, like a couple months before that, I said I really want to travel for work, and I'm like, how do I make this happen with screen printing? And then all of a sudden, like, it came into existence with how to do it. So that's really cool that it happened for you too.
Yeah.
Jeremy, do you have a question for him?
No, well, I mean, so you're saying now that you get to travel, and you are. I mean, when I think of screen printing, I think of, you know, a few people, and you're one of them, right? Like you're all over the place.
I love it.
Yeah, and and that's the cool thing about it is your personality is there for that. You know, you've got the right personality, and anyone can come up to you and talk to you. But like, so do you, because you chose that one path, do you find an outlet time to do the other things you love, or, you know, or do you find yourself just overwhelmed in only what you've just put yourself into?
That's a great question. So it was funny you say that because, thank you. It's funny you say that because Ryan, obviously, you know, him and I got really close, and he's become a mentor for me.
Yeah.
Really good friend. And it was funny because we were having a meeting at his house over one of the weekends at the beginning of this year. And it's weird how, like, when one question gets asked of you, you hear it a lot more from other people.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the theme at the beginning of this year was, you know, you're doing all this stuff, you have all this stuff going on, like, what do you want to be, or what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And I always kept responding. I'd laugh and I'd be like, what do you mean? Like I've been doing what I want to do. I just want to be an artist. And then it was funny because Ryan looked at me, and Ryan knows me pretty well, and he's like, you want to be an artist? I never knew that. And I'm like, what? Like, how did you not know that? And I was like, I am an artist, Ryan. Like, what do you mean? And it was funny because he hit me with this quote by Steve Jobs. And the quote was, real artists ship. And what it means is just like, you know, real artists just send their stuff out there. They don't wait. They don't overthink about it. You know, they're not waiting for the perfect opportunity. They just send it. And, you know, me being me, and, you know, me and Ryan being super competitive, like, I went to bed that night and I was like laying in bed looking up the ceiling like, all right, I need to come up with a comeback. Yeah, it's going to be a whole day later, but I'm going to have a comeback for him, right? So I woke up the next day and I looked down and I got a comeback for you, man. And he's like, oh, let's hear it. And I was like, well, they ship me all around the country, so what up? And he started laughing. He's like, no, but like, he's like, I hope you can really take that. And that was kind of a big shift for me. You know, when I had that realization from him, I was like, holy crap, he's right, you know? And it's one of those things, as much as I lived in an art studio for years when I was building a gym for artists and stuff like that. It's one of those things where you can't necessarily just like.
It's got moves.
I love it. You can't necessarily just like flip it overnight. You know, especially with everything that I was building up. It's like I can't just be like, well, I'm just gonna give up all this traveling and everything and start painting again.
So that's what I was kind of intrigued by, because you do have an electric personality. It's a compliment, man. There's not a lot of people that have that, right? But then at what point does that all, like, when it's not, you're not in front of people, like at what point do you like have time to go, all right, I can relax, I can chill, or do you just not relax? You don't relax. Okay. So you're just on the go all the time.
One of the challenges I also started taking on recently was in the past year, I have a very serious girlfriend, so Lucy.
Okay.
And
I saw her on Instagram. You guys are Instagram official.
Yeah, we are Instagram official.
Okay.
So that was a whole nother
That's
challenge.
hard.
It's so hard, but luckily, like, that's why she's amazing. She understands everything I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
But it's funny because, like, even it affects her more than it affects me. So, like, we'll do all these projects, and she loves to be there and stuff. And, like, it was funny because I can see it. She's like, holy crap, like, you just don't stop. And, like, it's funny because even some of my friends will be coming up and being like, Lucy's like, does he ever stop? And they all know me, so they're like, no, he just keeps going.
Is Lucy here?
She is.
Okay.
Yeah, so we actually
Will she be there later?
Yeah,
at the punk rock thing?
I'll make sure.
Yes, please introduce us.
How did you guys meet?
So she is the marketing person for social media and marketing for rock, and then she is. No, she is. Good guess. I always make the joke. I'm like, she fell in love with me because she had to edit all the videos.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's right.
But
that's awesome.
But no, it's funny because like I
rock
really
brought you together.
Exactly. Yeah. So one of the designs I actually did in the print throwdown that we just hosted and stuff like that was I redesigned the Energizer Bunny, but he has like my can of corn chain, he has my hat on and a spray paint can and stuff.
Nice.
And like I don't know, I really love it. Like for example, like even these trade shows, like obviously they're work for everybody and stuff like that, but like for me, I just look at it as it's an opportunity to like, you know, link with everybody that has done it. Like that's one thing that I feel that, you know, hasn't been appreciated. Like I'm really big into the saying, like giving people their flowers, you know, especially while they're still around and here like that. And so to be able to like come to shows and like be able to talk to people in the industry, especially people that have been doing it for years, like that just gets me even more excited. And it's funny because like last night I was talking to a really good group of guys. One of the shop owners that I'm close with and stuff basically like put a really good word in for me with a bunch of guys, and they were like, this is the kid, like this is the one we need to pass the knowledge to. And so they brought me in and they were talking, and it's funny because it's like 3:30 in the morning, they're all ready to go to bed, and like I'm like, I want to go
You're
print.
Just so cute.
I'm like, I want to go burn some screens actually. They had told me some like coding techniques that I had never tried, and I was like, I want to go burn some screens, and they're like, you need to chill. And I'm like, no, that's my problem, I just don't. But it's just like the love for it, you know. One thing that I really appreciate about my dad always pushing on me was he was like, if you can find something that you love, but it's also you that does it and you're your own tool, he's like, you will be happy and you can go anywhere and be you, you know. And so the crazy thing is like I'm very fortunate in the fact that like being an artist, I found a genre in art, which is screen printing, that I really love and stuff.
Okay.
And then, you know, it was also, you know, I give screen printing in the industry a lot of credit too, more than I think a lot of people do, in the sense like it's always allowed me to be me.
Yeah.
You know, and like obviously, and I like it. That's why I did it. Is obviously I'm gonna hear the comments where like, can he even print? Like he wears sunglasses all the time. Like, and that's the thing. Even the guys last night, it was super funny because they were like, we're going to be serious with you. And I was like, okay, what's up? They're like, we didn't want to give you the time of day until he came over and told us like
Really?
you were the real deal. And I was like, well, I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. But I was like, yeah, I mean, that's, to me, I always look at it as like, if you want to judge me, like judge a book by a cover, that's fine. But then you're going to read the book and you're going to love it.
Yeah.
You know? So
I like that.
I love
too.
it. But they're really nice sunglasses.
Thank
they're
you.
Ray-Bans.
Yes.
And they record. So
I know. I've been
And they record.
I've
so
been
I've
looking
seen
at them too, and I'm like, how can we expense this
Oh, you
so
definitely
I can
should.
do our social media through
You
them?
definitely should.
But our shop is too dark. I don't think I would get any good content
So,
with them.
you know,
can
they
get
just-
different ones. They don't record in dark.
really?
I'm telling you, get them.
Dirk Bentley's got that song where he says, I don't worry about a thing. I put my rose-colored Ray-Bans on. And I'm like, you got to be like Zach. You got to be like, I put my Plastisol Ray-Bans on.
You already know. Yeah. No, it's funny because like at first, when I first started doing it, like it was honestly a marketing thing. So
Yeah.
like I remember I was talking to Adrienne Palmer when she was with Screen Printing Mag, and she was like, she asked me when the next trade show I was going. I was like, next one, I've never been to one.
Yeah.
And she's
Oh,
like,
okay.
how have you never been to a trade show? And I was like,
And this was how long ago?
that was like right after COVID.
Okay,
right
so
at-
really soon. I mean,
yeah,
not too
and
long, too
then
long ago.
2 years ago, my first trade show ever was at Fort Worth.
Okay.
And basically I showed up, I was like a kid in a candy factory, like ready to go nuts. And then I was just like, damn, there's so many like faces. Like, cause me, I've always been obsessed. Like, you know, I'd known about you guys before I'd met y'all. Like, and
Yeah.
it's like that with a lot of people in the industry. So like for me, it's so exciting to get to meet people. But I was like, how are they gonna remember me? Like, I don't have like anything crazy.
You're memorable.
Thanks. Well, I guess I didn't know how far the personality was going to take me.
You know,
but,
it takes you.
So I was just like, you know, whatever. I'm just going to throw the glasses
But
on.
it's funny that you say that because we were literally just talking about that at our Airbnb.
Yeah.
We're splitting an Airbnb with 3 shops,
Hey.
and we were talking about like what makes people remember you. And Jeremy's like, if I don't wear my hat, nobody knows who I am.
Yeah,
because
I
he
can-
always wears the R hat.
Yeah, you always have the R
So
on.
so here's the interesting thing. Brett Bowden, I'm with him at a show. It's actually the SNS thing in Chicago, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so Brett comes up to me and it's like, hey, man, what's up? And so we're talking, and he introduced me to his wife and the podcast and all this stuff. And I was like, cool. And then me and my wife went for a walk, and I took my hat off. And Brett and his wife come walking by, and I go, sup? And he looked at me, and he's like, why are you talking to me, dude? And I'm like, I don't have the hat.
No,
it's the hat.
It's a serious thing. It'll be funny because like when I first started doing it, I'd walk into shops and people were like, who the hell does this kid think he is or guy think he is and stuff. And now it's like I go into shops when I don't have them on. They're like, whoa, like, what's up? Is something wrong? Like,
Yeah.
are you okay? I'm
I
like,
did think that the other day because I think it was in your Print Masters video. You didn't have them on, and I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen him with a video without him on.
I love it.
But I
Yeah.
did have that thought in my head, and I was like, well, that's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. No,
But I mean, come on. You think everybody you know here, like, what's Brett's thing?
oh, he's screen printing Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So
Everybody's got a thing, man. Ryan's got the hair, pointy hair, you know. Like, I honestly, it's funny because you know who I give Tom Davenport a lot of credit for me wearing the sunglasses.
okay, yeah. Well, Tom's sunglass guy to me, so
Exactly.
my whole family calls him sunglass guy.
Yeah, because
so.
like that was the thing when I first started hanging out with him at the Made Lab. I was just like, man, this dude's pretty cool. He's kind of like Warhol. Like, he just never takes his glasses off. And then I was like, I remember seeing him before the Fort Worth show, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it too. Like, what the heck? Like, I got the hat on at least. He doesn't wear a hat. I
Did
was
he
like,
ever explain to you why he does it?
No, he never did.
You know why?
No.
I asked him. I walked up to him and I go, hey, what's up, sunglass guy? And he laughed. He goes, man, it's not as like cool as you think it is. He goes, I literally lost my sunglasses so many times that I just got my normal glasses tinted so that they would just turn into, and he goes, and now I just wear the prescription sunglasses all the time because I'm sick of,
That's awesome.
like losing them and trading them out and everything else. So he's like, I just got to the point where I was like,
I love that. I never
whatever.
knew that.
Yeah. So he goes, it's actually kind of really boring, but I was like, everybody thinks that you just walk through with sunglasses on all the time just to be cool, man.
I love it. It was funny because when I showed up the other night, I had saw him at the Stalls event, and he didn't have the glasses on. And I was like, gave him crap right away. I was like, what are you doing, Tom? Like, I have mine on. You got to have yours on. Like, what the heck?
Yeah. So I think it's really interesting that you have a passion for the trade and the craft of screen printing, and you're kind of building your career off of that.
Yeah.
What kind of advice can you give to screen printers who maybe like aren't into art as much as you, or anything, like didn't grow up like with an art passion or anything like that, but like finding your passion in this industry and cultivating your life around it, like just leaning into it hard?
I would say you guys see it on Instagram and stuff, like I'm always hashtagging trust the process.
Yeah.
And like, that as much as I did have the art background and like, that definitely motivates me and fuels me. Like one of the big things for me was actually, it was the fact that I love the process, of just getting better and like trying to figure out, how I can dial things in more and stuff like that. So once I really like just dove into the process, cause like when I first started, it was just like, let's just get it out the door, know? But then once you like really dive into it and you see how deep it goes and that you can make it your own, like I really look at when you're dialing in your process, it's like you're creating your own art form. So for me, like if you're not really an artist but you like screen printing and you're trying to like get it further into it or exceed in it and stuff like that, is like the big thing I would say is just like fall in love with the process, and like I think that goes even more outside of screen printing. It goes with anything that you're doing, is like if you can really fall in love with the process, like obviously I believe the saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. But I also am like, well, you got to work. Like you got to put some work in.
That's true.
Yeah, you have to pay the bills.
And this industry is work.
Yeah.
Like it just
is.
is.
Yeah.
It is like, and it never stops. Like, and it's one of those things where, it's tough because the people that usually are the most passionate about screen printing are the shop owners, and they're the ones that end up printing the least. So it's really tough too. That's why I say, like, if you can at least fall in love with the process and stuff like that, you can understand that like everything technically is, like, in my opinion, temporary within the process. It will set up and it will work for right now, but like, you might be buying a new piece of equipment soon,
right,
and then the process changes. So just really falling in love and believing in that. And then the other thing I would say is stay true to you. That's why I love these sunglasses too, is because like, it started as a marketing thing, and then obviously it worked for like people remembering me, but like the big thing too for it was a true testament to myself, where it was like, all right, I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to give me crap. There's a lot of people that are going to perceive me differently or not take me serious or whatever, but like it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Like, I know who I am, I know what I can do, and like this is just who I am, so staying true to yourself is another thing with the process that I really believe. So it's like, that's why I love seeing even musicians, and we have so many musicians in this industry, is because they can still be them and be that rock star or whatever the case is, but they're just incorporating screen printing, but they're staying true to themselves. And so that's
a really good piece of advice.
Yeah. I was going to, so I see a big trend in the industry where, and we talk about this, is that people are having to adapt to the changes in the industry. There seems to be a lot of changes in the industry. I mean, obviously DTF's coming in really, really hard.
Yeah, look around here, there's DTF everywhere.
DTF's coming in really, really hard. People are buying less equipment.
Yep.
Like in the past year, there's been a significant change, and you would think that the COVID thing was a significant change, but it kind of rebounded.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, what do you feel like is going to be the biggest struggle coming into this, moving forward in this industry, that's going to be like the thing that people are going to have to adapt to?
Yeah.
and not look back.
It's definitely different. I had a really good conversation over at the M&R booth. Just throw that out there. But it was yesterday, and we were basically talking about, you know, it's been a tough year for everybody.
Right.
You know, whether you're printing T-shirts or you're selling equipment or whatever the case is, you know, hasn't been the most fruitful year. However, it's funny because he put it in perspective that I haven't really thought of or heard in like yet, and it was you got to think back, you know, and you got to think back prior to COVID, because if you think back prior to COVID and then you apply what we went through with COVID, the past, like from 2020 up until like this year, everything's been fake.
Yeah.
Everything was with fake government money and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So with that, you know, we're kind of just back to where it was, you know, and like garment decoration is one of the biggest industries in the world, whether people recognize it or understand that or not, right? But because it's so big, there's so many different levels to it. And, you know, as much as it was nice when there was all that, you know, government and free money going around where everybody could, you know, look at it and be like, well, I'm going to build this type of shop and I'm going to build this big, you know, facility and stuff. I think a lot of those people realized real quick, like, well, I can build it, but it's really hard to maintain it, you know? And like, I think that's where we're getting back to, where it's not necessarily a place of you need to have all the best things in the world. You need to kind of just, like, going back to what I was saying earlier, you need to really be more focused on dialing in your process and figuring out what you can do, you know? Yeah. For me personally, like, and this is something that I like to preach to everybody, especially when I'm teaching the classes and stuff, is like, you're your best tool. You know, like what I was saying, what my dad always taught me is like, you're your best tool. So it's like, you know, I take pride in not even just being able to screen print really good on a rock press. Like I want to, like or M&R press. It's like my goal is to be able to print the exact same print or better on every single type of press. You know, because you don't necessarily know what's going to come. You know, like ideally, being who I am and everything I've been exposed to, you know, and it was the number one question that was always asked to me is like, why don't you have a rock press? And I'm like, I always used to make the joke, and I'm like, because I'm a real screen printer. You know? And it's like, so it's kind of hard sometimes to go from like a manual to a rock, you know. Yeah. But like, for example, I like my gauntlet's a 94, you know, 1994. It's literally 2 years younger than me. But like understanding the process of screen printing and the passion I have for it, like I love printing on that machine, you know. I love my rock too, but like, you know, I love the 94 too, because it just like is a testament to the process of screen printing. And like, as much as the equipment has got so much better and fancier and all that stuff, the process is still the same, and it's still the same canvas that you can just make your own piece of art.
I think that too, like still loving the old equipment and the old processes and the art of screen printing, like it makes you a little scrappier than if you need new all the time. You know. Well,
that's the thing I'm super excited for with like the throwdown platform we've been making with the challenges and stuff, is because, you know, one of my best friends and my brothers back home, who's always held it down when I've been on the road, Cody, he came up to me when we were doing the challenges, and it was funny because he's like, damn, Z, like, we're really made for these challenges. And I was like, why do you say that, bro? I knew what he was going to say. I'm like, why do you say that, though, bro? And he's like, cuz, man, we've never had everything set up to the point where it's just a nice, easy flow. It's always a challenge. And I'm like, yeah, bro, but, like, you know, if you go around and you put other screen printers in our situation and stuff like that, and, like, we've had printers come into our, like, shops before at wherever level or whatever stage they're at and be like, you know, we'll give you guys some credit because we can't figure this out. And it's like, that just pays like homage to like the process and the craft of it, you know. Like I love when I see people starting, and I love trading stories with, like, you know, people that have been doing it for so long, because like the stories I love the most are like, oh, you were burning screens in your bathroom in the dark too? Or like, you like piecing films together? Like, I was like, I used to lie and like call Staples up every day and tell them I was a teacher so they could print my films. Like,
I used to get my films printed at Staples
exactly.
too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's like, but those type of things, like, it goes back, like, I said it before, I think on the, I forget which one I was talking about, but like, I get asked in the airport all the time, they'll be like, what do you do? You know, especially because like I'll walk around with my like toolkit when I'm going, or like I get stopped by TSA all the time because I always try to take like screen printing rubbers or squeegees in my bag and like through the security check, and they'll be like, what the heck is this? And trust me, they always stop me for Plastisol.
Yeah.
But anyways, people would be like, what do you do? And I try to explain to them, you know, because like as much as like they understand if I was to just be like, I print T-shirts, I think that's like disrespectful to the craft sometimes, because we do so much more. So like I'll try to explain to see what they're picking up, but at the end of the day, the number one thing that I always tell people is I'm just a professional problem solver. Like, and that's what screen printing has taught me so much, is that like at the end of the day, and like even if you look at the business side of screen printing with customers, right? A customer is bringing in a problem. The problem is that they need to have some sort of garment decorated and stuff. They're coming to you to solve that problem for them. And like that to me is like, I think the level of how good you are or how developed your process is as a screen printer in your craft is like, how many problems have you solved, you know? And like a lot of people want to like shy away from those problems. Like, oh no, I don't want to take that challenge on, or I don't want to put myself in that situation. But like the stories that I've heard and the experiences I've gone through myself, when you like, you know, run towards those challenges and those problems, that's what really allows you to grow as a person and in your craft.
For sure. That's one of our core values in our shop.
Creative problem solving.
Creative problem solving.
That's
you get on the solution train.
Yeah, like because you hate to hear the excuses. Right? Like don't just come and get me every single time. Think of the solution and then apply the solution. And then if it doesn't work, try again. You know?
No, and that's the thing. It's like crazy because like a lot of it is it's pretty simple. Like I love everybody walking by like, hey, how's it going? What's up? But no, it's wild because you know, the equipment, and like that's one thing. Like for me personally, I've always like, my goal was to be, when I told you guys earlier, I was like, all right, I know I have to get to this level with screen printing in order for my art career to just be open, you know? And so for me, I was like, all right, well, what's going to allow me to get to the top, you know? And I recognized real quick that for me, especially the way the industry was developing when I first got into it very fast with the internet and all that stuff, that it wasn't just one facet. Like before, like when I first started like printing and stuff like that, if I was like watching online and stuff, it wasn't like you had it very selective, right? Like I think at the time, you know, Danny was definitely like looked at as like the best screen printer, Danny Gruninger. And then like you'd look at Ryan and it's like, all right, Ryan's the best screen printing salesperson. And then like you go down the list of all these different people, you know, all right, you got Charlie, who's just like an OG and all that stuff. But then like as it like I got more into it, for myself, I looked at it, I was like, all right, well, if you really want to be this person that you're talking about or that you see for yourself, you can't really just try to be one of them. You know, you got to be all of them at once. And like, that's what kind of gets you to understand. So like, that's one of the things why I was so appreciative with the opportunity and like working with Rock, was because it gave me some insight on the technical side, which I was telling somebody last night, like that made me a way better screen printer, because then you're kind of understanding how the press works. So you can bring it back to the basics of screen printing and just figuring that out. And it goes back to the problem solving, you know, like I'll bring it up the 94 again. It's like, it has no measurements, it has no markings on where things are at or any stuff like that. So like when you're looking at,
use tools to adjust it.
To adjust my angles, like for my pressures and my heights, it's just twist knobs. But when you're printing and you're looking at it and you're like, all right, why is this printing like weird over here? And it's like, and you're like, all right, well, the squeegee and the flood bar aren't level, but there's nothing on the press that's going to tell you what's level. So you just look at it and you're like, well, Amazon has these little plastic levels that I could put right on the top of the squeegee and flood bar, and then now I at least know if my squeegee and flood bar is level.
There you go.
So it's just like little things like that, you know, or even like when I was manual printing all the time, it was like, all right, do I really have time on my press to necessarily adjust the off contact for every job if I'm going through like 5 or 6 jobs that day? No. So, you know, just testing other things where, you know, we found cardboard work great. You know, if we were just using pieces of cardboard.
It doesn't have to be complicated.
No.
We do crazy stuff. Like we got this 14 color job. Well, we got a 14 color press, but we're not using and we got flashes, you know. Maybe you get, what do? Let me look at the art. Oh, look it's like you can divide up the colors because that color is only on one side. So we're now splitting screens. You know, and putting tape down the middle with cardboard and vinyl and like, and then what the cool thing was we solved the problem once with my printer, And then me, I was out of town, and then we did that same job again, and I'm like, oh, I'm not there to help him, right? And he
No problem.
it got printed, no problem. He did it.
He didn't even come ask me for help.
He
that
didn't even
time.
flinch,
Oh,
and he goes, in my review of him, I told him I really appreciated that he learned once, and I don't have to teach him ever again. You know,
that's huge.
And but the cool thing is he's like, no, I want to do better at that. I want to like improve the process. So if we do that again or anything similar, I think we should do this, this, and this. And I'm like, it's in his head now. Like he's like so.
And that's the cool thing about like doing all these things. Uncle Jesse over there.
Elvis, is it Elvis that's coming back and forth? Is that what the noise is?
Probably. That's probably what all that mumbo jumbo is over there.
Yeah.
But no, and that's the cool thing too about screen printing is like, I don't necessarily like, especially being a shop owner, you know, you have a different perspective where, you know, you want to give the people on your team the ability to create themselves too, especially in the process.
For sure.
But it's finding that nice balance too, because like there's been plenty of times where I've told people, I'm like, hey, I love that you're trying to create better ideas and stuff, but this is not the time for that. Like there's only so many ways you can like do this process and stuff.
Yeah.
Trust me, I've tried it. And but no, that's the beauty of it is like, and that's when I think you know you have somebody like you got your teeth in them, is like they're willing to take what you've taught them, which is it's hard to teach somebody something, you know, and like it's also a blessing too because you're learning the same thing over and you're getting better at it.
Yep.
But it also is cool when you see somebody put that care or that effort into to make it better also.
Yeah.
So one thing I really like though is you're involved in a bunch of different things, which it makes you a dynamic person. And I think a lot of people in this industry, they stay in their shop, and then if their shop hits a hard time, they don't have any way to pivot. So like, how can we, as people of influence in the industry, like encourage people to like do some other things too, like get out of your shop a little bit. Like you started, like you have a shop, but you go places
you do all
with
kinds
Rob.
of stuff.
Yeah, like we do the podcast, I do stuff with Gildan, we write all this other stuff. Like how can we like encourage people that there's these other opportunities, and they kind of they help your business too.
Huge. I'll use myself as an example.
Sure.
Like I'm a big believer in, I like used to say this saying a lot more than I say it now, but I've been saying it more and more, is like, it's always good to have a day job and a night job. You know, and my big belief is that your day job supports your night job until your night job can come your day job, and then hey, you get another night job.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
And the way I look at that for other people too is like, it doesn't necessarily have to be that serious where it's like, all right, I'm gonna go get a whole nother job with another employer or something like that. It's just a matter of like switching your hat. So sometimes when you're that business owner, sometimes you just need to switch your hat and become the student again. Like one thing that I really try to push on, a lot of the people that I work with in the industry that for trainings and stuff like that, whether it's in shop or they come in the classes, right, is I always tell them, I'm like, hey, if you're traveling, especially around the country, like let me know. And like, I'll give you some shops to go visit, and like, that's the thing. Cause like, I think that was the biggest thing for me is like, I got to see all these cool shops online and stuff. But once I actually got in the shops, I was like, holy crap. Like I'm literally, I kept making, the guy I was with last night kept making the joke. He's like, you know a lot, kid, but you know this much. And I was like, and he was 100% right. Cause I'm like, dude, I'll go into a shop like every week and I'm always learning something new because, that's the beauty of the process is there's just so many ways to do it. And that's why like with the videos and stuff where like that I'll make for how to do things and stuff, I always try to be very specific and like stress the fact that this is not a how-to video. This is a how I do video. And therefore like it may work for you, but it just works for me, and like I think that's one thing that is gonna be what we're starting to see in the industry, which is really cool, is there's so a lot more knowledge being put out there. But the other cool thing too is that we're seeing that because there's so much knowledge being put out there, it's like if you're gonna like hold on to the fact that you think that this is the only way to do it, you're gonna get left behind, and then on top of that, you're also just gonna be like a negative effect in the industry opposed to just promoting positivity and growth. So.
Yeah, and you're welcoming a lot of trolls too.
And there's plenty of them, and trust me, I hear it all the time, and I mean. I look at it that is like,
What's the best time you've been trolled?
I don't know. There's been a lot of them. There's been some funny ones. I mean, there's been some raunchy ones. There's been some funny ones. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of the most common thing is like people just like they're just like he's an Insta printer. He can't print, you know, and like or Insta tech or all the different things that I do in the industry. But I love that because I'm like me growing up as a basketball player and especially being from Boston where we love talking trash. I'm just like, dude, you're just fueling the fire. Like if you like, what do you want to do, man? You want to do some sim process? You want to do some CMYK? You want to do some discharge? You want me to burn screens for you? I will literally match you on everything. So I'm not really scared about it either because like going back to what I was saying to you guys earlier is like the biggest thing is, you know, believing in yourself and being true to you. So it's like I'm not really, it's funny because I love being competitive and I love talking trash. But at the end of the day, I'm never competing against anybody. And I'm only competing against like myself. Like as an artist, you know, you have that mentality, like your best piece is your last piece, right? And then, you know, your future best piece is your next piece. So with me, I look at it as like, I'm just always competitive with myself. It's like, all right, dude, you did this really good last time, but you know, what are you going to do on this one? You know, because can you step it up and take it to another level?
No, that's awesome.
So Zach, you have what's your business, your actual business called?
The main name is Self-Made Designs.
Made Designs. Got it.
Self-made.
Self-made Designs. And you're, so what are you all involved in? We're going to wrap up here, but like what do you got going on and what are you looking forward to doing this year?
So right now with Self-Made Designs, you know, we finally got the studio pretty dialed in where we have a art section, manual dedicated section, and then we have an automated dedicated section in the whole studio. We also have a recording studio in there for music and podcasts and stuff like that.
Awesome.
With like a booth and all that. So my main goal with that was to, you know, that's like 5,000 square feet. So our goal was to really dial that in so we could handle the production that we wanted to do. And then also focus on creating more content. You know, I know that the content is seen in different ways by the industry right now because, you know, a lot of people that have been doing it and setting the way for so many years aren't used to the content. But it's also something that needs to be done. So just focusing on that and, you know, continue to grow, you know, my reach. Like the big thing for me is I've really bought into my role being a tool for the industry also. And like I just kind of want to just keep doing that and like, you know, being available to as many people as I can that want to grow. You know?
It's been really interesting the past month or so. I've run into some old school people in the industry, and it's so cool.
Uh-oh, we got some podcast beef coming up.
Hi.
Podcast beef.
Oh my gosh, Dylan, hi. Hugs come first.
What up, baby? I
How's it
love
going,
that
brother?
hat, by the way.
Doing all right? Good man.
What up,
Yeah,
baby?
absolutely. Go Dolphins.
No, it's a chicken wing. It's a chicken wing. That's the best
Is
thing
it a
about
chicken
the
wing?
hat.
It's not even a buffalo?
Hi.
Yeah, man.
I'll see you, bro.
See you later. It's a chicken wing.
Yeah.
Got it. So we just got, I don't know, what do you call that? Crashed?
Yeah.
Pod crashed?
He's one of my favorite people, and he's got a satchel on.
Oh.
Dylan is a man. I love
it. Yeah.
But no, and that's the thing is like it's just like, you know, being more accessible, like in creating more platforms. Like what you guys are doing, what they've been doing is like it's huge, you know, because like you guys are giving printers and people in the industry voices, and I think that's what's needed because, you know, as much as I wish everybody had their own personality where they, you know, are right in people's faces like myself and stuff, I know it's really hard for a lot of people.
It is, yeah.
So,
but what I was saying before Dylan came up, it was there's a lot of old school people that I've run into, and it makes like I'm like, are we still here? It's people saying like, keep your secret, like keep your trade secrets to yourself, don't share because that's what makes you special. And I'm like, what? Why are we still here? You know, like I've got a lot more than the knowledge that.
You gonna leave me hanging?
Yeah.
No, but the cool thing is right. So we've had a bunch of people walk by, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of them come from that time.
Yeah.
But they're finally like, those people are my favorite when I get credit from them. You know, because it's like, all right, the walls are coming down.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing is because I've heard that too is like, don't give it away because if you give it away, how are you going to make any money?
Yeah.
And it's like, well.
That's what an ink guy that came to our shop, he told me that. And I was like, we just don't operate that way.
Yeah,
like,
but like when you think about it too is like I don't have a degree in teaching. I'm not here. My goal, my job, my requirement is not to make money off of teaching. do I make money off of teaching with classes and stuff like that? Yeah, and I'm very fortunate and blessed. But at the end of the day, it goes back to like, what'd you start doing and why are you doing this? You know, and like I said, it goes when we were talking earlier, is like, for me, it was the passion aspect. You know, like if my goal is to grow and to help people and build passions and stuff, like it's creating that stuff and helping others. Like I can't really worry about how much money I'm making off of it. And I know I get a lot of crap. Well, you know, even my mom, she's like, well, you need to be focused on how much money you're making. And you know, there's a quote that I really love, and the quote is, you know, those who do more work than what they're paid for now, you know, will get paid more than the work they do later.
Yeah.
And like that's something that I really like believe in. So that's why I'm like, you know, I don't necessarily need a ton of finance coming in right now for all the information and the tips I'm giving out. I just know that in return, you know, it's gonna be like
it's job
twofold.
security. It's like you have a place in the industry forever. Just keep building.
So I got one last question for you,
Oh,
Zach.
hell yeah.
Oh gosh.
All right, here we go. What does screen printer die mean to you?
Ooh.
Oh man. Screen printer die.
Or is it printer die? What did you ask us?
No, screen printer die.
Screen printer die.
So it's funny you asked me that, because I'm probably going to get asked that so many times today, and you guys are the first ones. So for me, I grew up, one of my favorite albums was 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying. So that was always like a thing in my head. So when it comes to screen print, it's like, you know, screen printer die, especially with the passion that I have. It's like, just do it. Like I'm a big Nike fan, so it's like just do it too. And it's like when I hear that, and like I was so excited to become like part of the project with Ryan and stuff. It was like, man, like this embodies what I believe in. You know, like I look at it as like, what else do I really want to do? You know, like I make the joke with Lucy. I'm like, should I just go back to the bank and sell mortgages again? And she's like, stop joking around. You're like, you can never do that. No. And it's like, no, because I'm either gonna do this or nothing else. Like, and like I appreciate you guys bringing it up for me and stuff like that, but like in making an example to help others. But like, you know, there are going to be times where, you know, it's very daunting and it can soul sucking to be printing or on a press over and over and over again, right? But like that's not all what screen printing is, you know. And like when I'm teaching and talking to kids, especially in like the VOTEC schools and some of the programs we're working on, like that's the number one thing I stress is like, do not think that screen printing is literally sitting behind this press all day.
Doesn't have to be.
Yeah, because there's so many different things that you can do. You know, there's so many people in this industry that have made huge impacts and they've never even been behind a press.
Yeah,
you know?
You can travel the world. You could do whatever you want. Whatever you want to make screen printing into, you can do it.
Yeah, so when I hear that and like what I embody with that is just, you know, be true to you and do you in screen printing, and otherwise don't do anything.
Yeah. Okay, so I actually have one more thing. Or die.
Or die.
Okay, since you said 50 Cent is one of your favorite rappers.
He is.
Yeah.
I need you to close this out by spitting a rhyme.
Oh, man. Oh, okay. Dang.
We stumped
Wow, we stumped the
do I need to do
can of corn.
Hold on, let me ask a question. All right, this is a valid question.
Okay.
Does it have to be a 50 Cent line, or does
No, it can be whatever you want.
You do you, boo. You do you.
Oh, man.
He's like, what in the world did I get myself into?
I had a really good one, and I used to say it all the time about screen printing.
Go ahead.
And then I forgot.
Oh, you forgot it.
I thought I would.
You trumped me.
This is bad.
No.
This is bad because I was like, it's impressive. You know so many quotes off the top of your head. I was like, oh, you got to rhyme for me.
I don't know my own.
Okay, text it to us later.
Oh, no, this is so embarrassing now. This is like, I feel like I'm going to become a meme right now just because I can't even think of it.
Screen printer die, can't rap on the fly.
Oh, damn. All right, screen printer die. I'm the squeegee flipping guy. If you don't see me down low, you'll see me in the sky. And if you're having any screen printing problems, just know I'm your guy.
Hey, there we go.
Thank you for that assist. I needed that. Oh man, that's so embarrassing. Now I'm gonna have to drop like a screen printing song.
You're gonna have to tag us.
Oh,
We'll
man,
collaborate.
We need a last call for Plastisol song.
We
have one.
We have a
We'll
rap.
play it for you.
What?
It's a rap too.
How do I not know
Call
this?
for a Plastisol competition barely.
Can I get a feature? I need a feature. Let me write a verse to that.
Come
That'd be
discuss
sick.
the fill with your host Christy and Jeremy.
Oh, so real quick, because we've been going. I don't want to keep talking. I'm not gonna lie. Did you guys remember the old school Biggie Small song, the 10 Crack Commandments?
I don't remember.
I know Biggie Smalls. I don't know that.
Okay, so it's funny. He like basically goes down one by one. So I entered that in the print GBT.
Yeah.
Screen print GBT, and I was like, I need you to make me one of these for screen printing, and it was.
Was it good?
It was
Epic.
pretty freaking good. I
Yeah,
was like,
okay.
damn.
we
Everybody
go.
would know I didn't write this.
I'll
up.
let you listen to the song after we're off the air.
Oh yes, please.
But
do.
Zach Achorn, thanks.
Thank
you,
you
so
man.
much for
Thank
being
you. I
on.
appreciate you.
Big
guys.
goals for us to have you on. So
Hey, no,
you
it's
did it.
been a
Thanks,
goal to
man.
be on this. So
Thanks,
Cool.
guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.